Let's take a look at how we can create a view. The syntax for a view is create or alter, view, specify the name, as, and then your single select statement. That really is it. I really wasn't kidding around that if you can create a select statement, you can create a view. You just simply put create view, whatever the name is, on the top of it with an as, and away you go from there. Now, there are a couple little options that we're going to highlight here in just a moment, but I do want to close this little slide by saying that if you need to get rid of a view, you just simply execute drop view and then specify the name. The options in our view are as follows. First up is encryption. Now, what this will do is it will take the script that you used to create the view and encrypt it. That every script that you issue to create non-table objects, basically, inside of SQL is going to be stored inside of a system table called syscommons. And so anybody could actually go inside of there and go access that. You can also actually use SP-help-text, which is a system store procedure, to go access that as well. If you decide that you want to hide this, then you can use the with encryption option. There's a couple little issues with it. First of all, it's only going to encrypt based on the last statement. So in other words, if I said create view with encryption, and then I said alter view, and I forgot the with encryption, the view as it stands would not be encrypted. The second issue is that nobody's going to be able to access it, including system administrators. Well, that's not 100% true. You'll notice that last bullet point there. It's also easily cracked. That if you head on out to the interwebs, you're going to find all sorts of little tools and otherwise that can break through that encryption. So generally speaking, don't use encryption. It's not a good practice. The next little thing is schema binding. What schema binding will do is it will prevent the underlying tables that I'm using from being changed in such a way that would break this view. So for example, if I create a view and I'm grabbing a name column from a table, you're not going to be able to remove that name column from that table. By the way, as a side note, schema binding is required for what are known as indexed views. And if you remember earlier, we talked about an indexed view. An indexed view is when it's going to actually write out to disk. So schema binding is required for indexed views. Next up is the view metadata option. What this is going to do is this is going to enable external APIs to be able to browse the metadata that the view is going to return. And then finally, last but not least, is check option. Now, unlike all the other with options that we've got, check option is actually specified at the end. And what it's going to do is it's going to prevent any modifications through a view from modifying the data in such a way that it would leave that view. In other words, if I created a view and I added on a where statement and I said where state equals New York, I would not be able to issue an update statement changing the state to any other value. That's what the with check option is going to do for us. Let's take a look at how we can create and then in turn use a view.